Wait, when does jail change? That's a good question. 20 more minutes for jail change? Okay, how many of you are here? Alright. Okay, the jail's about to change, right? In 20 minutes. So let's do something cool. I wanna wait it out. So let's just like discuss a few things together. Okay. I just want to have a quick discussion with all of the chat, right? About something that I mean, I feel that after watching yesterday's BBG stream and um how he expressed like his thoughts on the game, I heard him speak about how, like he used to have so much fun before about with the game and with all the stuff like global items and stuff. Like he was pretty much reminiscing about the past and what was fun about Underlords. And I was thinking that, like a lot of people have their own ideas as to why this game was fun and why they think, the game has taken a wrong turn. And the only reason why people think the game has taken a wrong turn is because it's losing people, correct? We're losing people every day, and people are starting to look at other games. They're starting to think about like playing other games. A lot of popular streamers have pretty much gone. Our stream is still here, and a lot of you that are here are like hardcore fans. You guys love this game, and there's so many people who come into this chat and they tell me that, oh yeah, I'm not able to play, but I still watch, right? And there's a lot of reasons why it's like that, right? So one of the biggest things like I felt about this game that the developers have kind of gone away from, or they've oversaw, is that there's a very like simple reason why this game is just not fun anymore, right? And the biggest reason why this game is not fun anymore is that the developers are nerfing units instead of bringing them up to the standard, right? So when they nerf units instead of bringing them up to the standard, it means that, for example, I was talking with Martini earlier. A few months ago, there was Shadow Fiend, right? Who was super amazing. Okay, you remember when Shadow Fiend was super amazing? He was just like in every single comp, right? And if you look at Shadow Fiend now, if you compare him to then, he's like probably the worst unit in the game, right? Nobody plays Shadow Fiend. You don't do anything, and it's mainly because everyone was complaining. Wow, this sucks, blah 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 blah, and like everybody's using it in every comp. Let's just get rid of it. And there you go. Here comes the nerf hammer. Shadow Fiend's gone. Another unit, for example, Arc Warden, right? Arc Warden was playing every single comp, and they nerfed it. The developer's idea right now is that whenever there's something that is too strong or an auto put in any comp, you nerf it. So another unit, for example, was Morana, right? Morana, a couple months back during the era of Shadow Fiend, that's when I started playing. It wasn't that good. Like people play 6 hunters and they didn't play Morana in it, and it was a 4-cost hunter. It just didn't make any sense why you wouldn't play it, right? It got like some small buffs and still it was not used. But now if you see Morana, it's actually like one of the best units in the game, right? And that's not because they like buffed it super hard or something like that. It's because they pretty much brought everything that was up here and that was considered fun or like strong or overpowered down here. And here is where Morana was always at. Okay? So everything people associated with, let's say, underpowered or garbage or not good is where they brought the standard down to. Instead of bringing these units here up to here. So let's say Shadow Fiend, the X Shadow Fiend was here, or Arc Warden. I've said this multiple times. I thought Arc Warden was like the most perfect unit in Underlords. You can use it in any comps. Its alliances didn't affect too much the impact like when it was paired up, but it was still usable, right? And if let's say like you saw that as the standard and you try to bring up all these units that were like at the bottom, like for example Dota Auto Chess had that idea, right? They were very transparent. They said whenever patches came that, oh, this unit is having the lowest win rate, we're gonna buff it, right? And they gave like some small buffs. Sometimes they made it too strong, but that's okay, you know, let units have their time to shine, and then you can slowly but surely like tone them down just a little bit, right? There are some units that the developers have buffed and it actually made a positive impact into the game. One example is like what Yoden said, like Shadow Shaman, right? Shadow Shaman was a god awful unit. It was only used to keep in your bench to either find Troll Warlord or Enigma in the past, right? Now you can actually use Shadow Shaman with the buffs and you can actually play trolls, right? In the early game. It was good. It was actually good for the game. It made a unit that was considered trash and you considered it as like unplayable into something that's actually useful throughout the game, right? Another unit was Axe. Axe was a unit that was used in Brawnies, but when they nerfed Brawnies, he just fell off the map, right? He was pretty much used as a warrior only back then. Now, even without it being a warrior, he's usable in the early game, right? And he's the early game cheap unit that can be used as a tank to help you transition into better units, right? So Axe was also another example of, you know, a good unit that got buffed. Yeah, I mean, you gotta understand that nerfing units is good, but and you can't only buff, but you do that, you know, in moderation, right? Right now, how it works is like somebody will go, especially the Reddit community, right? Like Reddit, I mean, I understand Valve, like I've been playing Dota for a very long time, and Valve really listens to the Reddit community often. Like if there's an easy way to get their attention more than social media, I don't know if you would call Reddit social media or something, but like Reddit is where like you have open discussions, right? And you can like, you know, directly voice your opinion and people can pick up like, oh, this is good, this is bad, or whatever, you know? Like, and a lot of people tend to complain more about, you know, units being too strong instead of discussing how something might be too weak and unplayable, and that's why these other units become too strong. Okay, you nerf, let's say, what was super popular back then? I'm just trying to think about it. Trying to give a good example here. Shadow Fiend? No, I mean that Shadow Fiend was a good example, but like there was like some comps. Like, okay, there was a time where there was a time before Bloodbound contract was good. There was something else that was good, but I just can't remember for the life of me what it was, right? Was it the Six Hunter era? It was like it might have been like the Six Hunter era or something like that, right? And like that got nerfed and then contracts became super popular, right? Oh no, it was actually the Arc Warden era with like the infinite Arc Wardens and things like that, right? And then once that got nerfed, then the contract era came, right? Contract era came and they're like, oh, this is too strong, blah 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 blah. Let's nerf it. Nerf contract to shit. What came after that? Warriors or something. Warriors came after that because you nerfed something else, you know? There's always gonna be something that arises because you nerf whatever was the popular thing, right? But instead, if along the popular thing you buff something else, now you can have options between two different things to play, right? I mean, that's the thing though. Like, instead of just nerfing something because it was polarizing, why not make or bring something else that wasn't polarizing up to its standard, thus balancing the game out, right? Because BTC was only polarizing because they nerfed everything before that, right? That's the thing. Night era or Demon Hunter era, like everything just kept on being brought down instead of like bringing other units up to its standard. And like I said, the prime example of this is Shadow Fiend, right? Like it was just one unit, but now it's like completely utter trash. Okay, so anyway, let's move on from this. Like nerfing units instead of bringing them up to the standard, that was one of the big things, right? And the other thing, like, I feel the developers need to do, like, that's probably correlated with this, is like, it's okay to not, it's okay to, like, not listen to every suggestion, right? Because, like, what I feel right now is, like, whenever someone suggests something, people just, like, when someone suggests something and they feel like something is overpowered, they're like, nerf this, blah 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 blah. Like, I feel the developers are too quick to like jump on to that, you know, which is kind of a good thing because you have like an open, like, you know that they're listening, right? You know they're listening, but it's also okay to not listen to like every suggestion and just like understand what your direction with the game is and follow through with that. Right? Like, imagine someone just always telling you what to do and like they're very unhappy. It's okay. Like, what I should add on to this, like, it's okay not to listen to every suggestion. You can't please everyone, right? Like, I guess please is not the right word. You can't satisfy everyone, right? Like, someone who likes apples might not like oranges, and you're just gonna have to suck it up that there's gonna be people who are not gonna like your work, they're not gonna like your game, okay, but it's better to put out good content than listen to bad suggestions and like suggestions that pull you away from your overall game that you've been planning, you know, from the very beginning. So this is like another, this is like a huge thing, right? Like, the developers in Underlords, I don't know like how experienced they are with this kind of stuff, but like, for example, things with Ice Frog, right? Like, I've been playing Dota for like 15 years or something. So the thing with, I mean, I say Ice Frog, I don't even know if he's like an individual person or he's a team of people, probably a team of people, but like how they work is they take some suggestions. I would say like they would take like 1 in 100 suggestions and put it into the game, but majority of the things are like stuff that they made on their own, right? And some things are so absurd you have no idea why it's like that, but like at the end of the day it ends up, you know, working itself out. And people, you know, there's like this meme where it's like there's a frog and then it provides you like a plate of shit, and then and then the consumer is like, what the fuck is this shit, I don't want to eat this, and then like in the next like slides, like, you know, you go back and you eat it anyway because the game is just that good, you know, you can't stay away from it, right? So this is like a pretty big deal to me, and I think this thing also is like direct correlation with this, right? People whine about something or like they complain like something is too strong. I wouldn't say whining, but like they're just concerned, or maybe they don't have the understanding, right? When you complain about something or like you bring in some negative connotation to something, it might be because you just don't understand what the root issue is, right? So you just like think nerfing is an easy solution, let's just do it, right? And to be honest, like nerfing something is a lot easier than bringing everything up to a standard. It's a lot more work, but at the end of the day, you might be creating a more fun game. The best Dota patches I like is when they nerf a hero by buffing its counters. This is actually the most accurate thing I've heard, like for me as well. Like, I love this, right? This is like huge, you know, like this is a prime example of bringing up things to a standard, right? You buff the counters to something, thus making the overpowered unit or whatever it may be not like OP anymore. So that's good. Anyway, let's move on from this stuff, right? So another thing like I wanted to say was like why we're losing players. Like these two are probably the biggest things, right? So I guess like if we talk about the game itself, like Underlords, right? Underlords, there's a huge issue with Underlords. They made the game complicated. they made the game more complex and added a whole new dynamic that people haven't had the chance to fully understand yet. Right? So Underlords, they added like, it's like a whole new gameplay, right? And the thing is, when you add Underlords, it's harder for you to judge if units are OP or like items are problem or something like that. Like, because these Underlords, they just completely change the game. When you remove these Underlords from the game, like pre big patch, it was a lot easier to identify what was strong and what needed adjustments and such. But once you added Underlords, it became a lot more difficult to like balance things, right? So I feel that, especially the issue right now that people have been discussing with Underlords, is that because you start with like you start with the Underlord, it's making it a lot more difficult for you to like choose one or the other. The problem with Underlords right now is like one is always going to be stronger than the other if they're not perfectly balanced, right? And this also correlates with this, right? Because there's also a problem with Underlords that I feel that the developers are messing up with. It's like they tend to buff an Underlord like, let's say 3 times over, and then they nerf the other one like 4 times. Like if we take a look at this patch here, so right here, this is the last patch we saw, right? How many buffs did an Essex get? Okay, before this patch hit, Hobgin was stronger. Before Hobgin was stronger, an Essex was stronger. Right now, in Underlords, an Essex is the top one. Like 8 players, 7 out of 8 players will use an Essex in the lobby, which is a huge issue, right? Because also you're starting with the Underlord at the beginning, right? How many bosses? There's a buff, like a buff here, 1, 2. This was not so much a buff, but like this, I mean, a lot of this is hard to say if it's buffed or not because they changed the hype system, so they had to like balance for that. But I would probably say there's like 1, 2, like maybe 3 buffs here, right? And if I look at Hobgin, they probably have like about 3 nerfs or even more than that. Like especially the big nerfs that hit was like Molten Armor. Like an Essex got small buffs, right? But Hobgin got heavy nerfs, right? Like keep it a secret, this was the #1 reason why Hobgin was played. They already nerfed this. Had they just nerfed this alone and left everything else intact, Hobgin and Essex might have been equal in power, because an Essex is like a early game Underlord, and Hobgin was meant to be like a more of a mid-game, late-game Underlord, right? Keep it a secret made it completely disgustingly OP. They nerfed it, fine, right? Now the units can at least cast spells after 1.5 seconds if they have mana. But whatever, like this is fine. Second thing, Molten Armor. They nerfed Molten Armor as well. All the units that hit him don't get on fire, and now the backline units are not going to be able to like take that extra, you know, magic damage or whatever. These two were already insanely huge nerfs to Hobgin because he was meant to be a late game Underlord, right? One that benefited, you know, from reaching this point in the game. But by nerfing these two, and alongside that, almost everything here is pretty much a nerf, right? It's like you buff an Essex a couple times and then you nerf the other unit, like the other Underlord, like 5 times, and it just creates this huge difference in gap, like for which one is stronger. So they're having a huge issue with Underlords and like how to balance them. And I personally feel like 2 Underlords is not enough if you're gonna start the game with them. I think like 4 Underlords would be better. But if you're not gonna start with the game with them and you're gonna keep like 2 Underlords, that might be fine if, like some people suggested, if you go to level 10 and that's when you pick up your Underlord, yeah, I can see some use for that. But as of right now, Hobbiton would still need, you know, a little bit more balancing to just make them equal, you know? Because like starting a game and playing like only one Underlord from the start of the game is useless. You might as well just remove the Underlord from the game, right? If all 8 players are using the same Underlord, you might as well just remove it. What do you think about the ace mechanic? I hate the fact that where a single ace is strong. Troll, for example, all you want to do is rush 8, hold trolls, playing with... I think ace mechanic is fine. It's not that big of a deal. I think they're completely okay. Anyway, guys, let's just keep away from the jail for now because I have like one more thing I want to discuss and then we'll look at the new jail, right? So yeah, so this is the game is just like everything revolves around these Underlords, and it's definitely making the game a lot more difficult to balance, right? And I have one last point to make, and I think this is like very important, and I hope that the developers will go back to this. And this is like another reason why the game is kind of like falling down in a way, and that's because there's 2 reasons why this game became popular to begin with, right? Why Underlords, or not even Underlords, why Dota Auto Chess initially became so popular to begin with, right? It was simplicity, oops, plus one more thing, accessibility, right? These 2 things, and what I mean by simplicity and accessibility is accessibility is like mobile users, right? So like accessibility has been the one reason why people have actually played Underlords. Okay, in Dota Auto Chess, you open up Dota 2 and the game was free, easy to play, same thing, right? But Dota Underlords had one thing that was better than everybody else, which was accessibility. Okay, and when this new update hit, these players were not able to play Dota Underlords on mobile anymore, because I'm not sure if they didn't think about it or they didn't think like the impact that it would have, but I would probably, I don't know what the numbers are, but I could probably say like 50% of players that actually play Dota Underlords probably also play on mobile. Every day I have like people come in here and tell me like, oh, I actually stopped playing Underlords because I can't play it on my phone anymore. Or they say that the games just last too long and I can't play on the phone anymore, right? And that's a big deal. And the second thing is simplicity, is because the moment they added Underlords and the moment they added a bunch of units and they added like jail system, it actually made the game a lot more complex, and it pretty much turned off people from actually wanting to play the game, right? Like people saw Underlords, they're like you open up like Hobbiton, for example, you go to this and you see like a wall of text and you're like, well, what the fuck? What is this? Like, do I even have time to read every single one of these spells and, you know, be able to play enough, right? And then there's 2 of them, and then it's like the same thing. Like, there's just a bunch of wall of text. And then to add on top of that, you got jail, right? Now you got jail, and every day it keeps changing and changing and changing, and nobody has any time to like adapt, right? You're gonna play one day, you're gonna play like, you know, some comp, you're gonna go to work or whatever, and then you're gonna think, you're like, oh wow, last night I was playing this game and it was pretty fun, but what if I did this instead to like adjust my board, or like if I add this unit, maybe that would actually make it stronger, right? Now you go home from work and then the jail changes, and then you're like, well, wait, hold on, I wanted to play this comp, now I can't play it because it's not there anymore, right? So for very casual players, jail has really, really screwed them up. And you gotta understand that casual players is what brings numbers, right? Like casual players is 99.9% of your player base, right? So you gotta cater to them. And accessibility is also what casual players need, right? Casual players, while they're on the commute, or they're waiting for something, or they're at work, and like they want to be able to play on their phone, And the one thing is, like, especially in Southeast Asia, most of the Southeast Asian, the reason why they play Underlords is because they can play on their phone. Like, I've been in Southeast Asia for like almost 3 years now, or more than that, and like there are so few PC players compared to mobile players. Yeah. The jail screws casual players so hard they can't just log in for their 1 or 2 games and play the comp they like. Yeah, pretty much. Hey Roy. Works okay on new devices, but the UI is still worse. Yeah, exactly. Hey T-Huff. Yeah, I just want to like point out some things that I feel is like kind of a big deal, and what is driving people away from the game. And I hope at some point like these things will be addressed, because if these things are not addressed, I feel like we're gonna stay on the same path. And I'm not saying that like, oh, nerf this unit, or oh, remove this unit. I'm trying to reach the root cause of the issues that we're at right now. Okay, I'm trying to reach the root cause so we can like take it by the root and bring this game to life. And I feel that people need to direct their attention to these things more than actually like only in-game play stuff, because once you reach these things, like everything will kind of just fall into place. I've been championing a turbo mode for the longest. 15 to 25 minutes would be ideal. This would 100% help like some kind of casual, like the casual players. I can agree with this too. I was playing TFT and I had no clue what I was doing. Even as an experienced player in the genre, a jail in TFT would have brain fucked me even more. Yeah, like, okay, look at me. I play this game like 8 hours plus per day, every day, right? When it was my wedding last week and I had to like take a week off to like deal with that stuff, and I came back, I literally lost like 600 or 700 MMR in like 3 days time, because I had no idea what game I came back to 1 week later. And that's ridiculous. Like, last patch I was rank 1 at some point, right? This patch, like, that I can do well, right? But the fact that I can struggle to that extent only makes me like think how casual players would feel, right? As a player who's playing like 8 hours a day and studying and like trying to understand the game and still struggling after only not playing for 1 week is ridiculous. Now I'm okay, right? 1 week later, I've picked up my groove, whatever. Like, I'm starting to win my games, everything is consistent, blah blah blah. We're good. But that's actually ridiculous, right? That the game can change so much within just 1 week's time. Like, before I left, Anestics was a top 1 comp, and the comps that you played is so different. 1 week later, when I came, everybody was playing Hobgin, and then all the comps were like different, and like it was so much stuff to like pick up on. Well, some of us highlight this on YouTube channel. We can post it on. I mean, I don't really care if this goes on like Reddit or something. I just wanted to bring some attention to it, and I wanted like people to like understand some issue. There's a lot more to this, for sure. There's a lot more to this, but yeah, we'll put this on our YouTube channel if there are other people who would be interested. Not a serious gamer taking time off for wedding. Yeah, I mean, I had to do it. Okay, so there's was this everything that like I thought was really big deal? I think there's a couple more points, but we might have like a part two to this. But like, and I think like, let's say we put this on YouTube, whatever. I'm sure like people will bring up other stuff as well that they think is important. But for now, I feel like these points are pretty good in themselves, right? Like issues with nerfing randomly and like stuff like that, like that we can probably bring up at another time. But this probably reaches most of the root causes of the decline in the game, and I hope that you guys can also spread the word regarding this, because like I know all of you that are here right now and are like listening to this are like hardcore fans of this game, right? I'm one of the few streamers who's still playing Underlords and streaming Underlords because I want to see this game flourish, right? But if some of these things don't get addressed properly and like we don't like hit our stride with this game, like I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to keep going, right? And this direction, like if we don't focus on this, like we might end up with Artifact 2.0, right? And I should say, like I so strongly appreciate the work that the developers are doing, right? Hard-working devs, but need good direction, right? Like the developers are doing a great job in terms of like how hard they're working, how much effort they're putting into the game, and such and such and such, right? But I feel that they just need better direction, and I think reaching some of these points, it would be awesome. And you know what? Like we can have another discussion about like some of the nerfs. For example, there was something about good stuff or like late game comps being nerfed, like cutting them down on level 9 or whatever. All that did was make the games last longer. People decided to like save more gold, and roll on 25 instead of rolling on 20, because like you still need to reach your end game comps, right? End game units are part of your complete comp, right? So like there's things like that pretty much affected the game in other ways, making the games also last longer, right? Removing round damage made the games last longer. Like there's so many like chain reactions. So we need to, as people and as gamers and as like people who have strong opinions, we need to be careful with like the suggestions that we make, right? We should not just simply come to a conclusion like, oh, this thing is too strong, nerf it, right? We don't know the chain reactions that can cause, right? Positive or negative. And this is where like we gotta let the developers handle that stuff, right? We can make small suggestions and we can like think about what issues are. It's okay to give your opinion, but addressing the root causes would make or give better results, is what I believe at the end of the day.